Next up, we have shopping is a virtual adventure. We hear a lot about AR and VR and how it's affecting all aspects of our lives. And there's a lot of promise for it in retail today. I'd like to welcome our next panel up to the stage, if you all don't mind. We have Tom Emrich, who's going to be your moderator. He's with Superventures. Jenna Blaha we have from Elle magazine, who's been doing some really great retail coverage and technology coverage in an outlet that traditionally didn't do so much. Alan Smithson of MetaVRse, and Joanna Popper, you're here, yay, from HP. And they're going to talk a little bit more about not just the flash whiz-bang aspects of VR and AR. We want to hear some real-world practical use cases and applications for technology that exists. Tom?
Thank you. So global spending on augmented reality and virtual reality products and services is expected to reach $27 billion this year, and retail is expected to be a top application driver. And with 1 billion augmented reality-enabled smartphones in consumers' hands and a ton of advancements in AR and VR, which you're able to see here on the CES 2019 showroom floor, it's more important than ever for retailers to have a strategy and execute against it in understanding how to use these technologies. Today we have a panel that is made up of corporate innovators, solution providers, thought leaders in augmented reality, AR, and virtual reality, VR. And we're going to specifically look at some of the problems that retailers and brands have today and how augmented reality and virtual reality can solve for that. Before we begin, I'd like for our panelists to introduce themselves and how they relate to AR and VR to give you some context. Myself, I'm an active investor in augmented reality through a fund I started in Silicon Valley 3 years ago called Superventures. And I also am the producer of the world's #1 AR VR conference and expo called AWE, which has events worldwide. And some say that I have thoughts that they like to follow, so I guess I'm an influencer of sorts. But that's always debatable. You can choose. But enough about me. Let's talk about Jenna. Jenna, please introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm Jenna Blaha. I am a tech and fashion editor at Elle magazine, and I cover fashion on its own, tech on its own, and fashion tech together. So I'm really looking at technology that I think is relevant for our readers, and obviously being a fashion magazine, retail is one of those categories, but then also thinking about the ways that we can innovate internally. So if I see a really great opportunity, I'm going to jump on it and figure out how can we share our content in unique ways, can we bring our content from both digital and print to life. Maybe it's in person, maybe it's through augmented reality, AI. So that's how I'm approaching this space.
Awesome. Joanna, hello.
Hello. So I'm Joanna Popper. I'm the head of virtual reality for location-based entertainment at HP. And at HP, we power many of the leading VR experiences in entertainment and in retail, or retailtainment, I guess, as they're calling it. We do so by providing that very high-end computing power that powers many of the virtual reality experiences as well as headsets. And then in other areas of HP, we also do 3D printing, display technology, point-of-sale technology, digital on-demand printing. So all across our business unit, we're helping businesses innovate, drive traffic, decrease costs, increase productivity, and really bring innovation and the best of all technology practices to their retail locations.
Great, thanks, Joanna. And Alan Smithson, my fellow Canadian on the panel.
My name is Alan Smithson. I'm the CEO of MetaVRse. We're a virtual augmented and mixed reality product development company. Over the last couple of years, we've developed a number of different products, everything from a web-based AR editor to a product called Floorcast, which I'm actually going to do a quick demo for. We look at VR and AR. We've kind of done a really broad range of things, everything from mining to retail to fashion. And we did so really to just understand the lay of the land over the last couple of years, because if you looked at 2 or 3 years ago, the landscape was totally different than it is today, and you can see that as you walk the floor. And what we've found over the last couple of years is that there's a real move towards AR in retail and AR in print, and those are the two that we've decided to kind of really focus in on. So I'd like to show you a quick demo. Where's the HDMI cable that I can plug into? Is it up here? It's over there? Okay, I'll do the demo from over there. I'm just going to show you a quick demo. I'll let Tom talk while I do the demo, and Yeah.
Let's read the demo at the
Should
end.
we do it?
Get it teed up, though.
We'll do it at the
Alan,
end,
and then we'll do the demo at the end. So if you want to give them
Yeah,
what
sure.
you need to give them.
Go ahead.
So folks in the audience, what we decided to do, since we only have 20 minutes together, is to really hone in on some of the challenges and problems specific to you as retailers and brands. And start there. Start with the problem, and then talk about how augmented reality and virtual reality can solve for those problems. So you're definitely going to be hearing about best practices in augmented reality and virtual reality, and glean some insights from some examples that we'll be talking about. But I hope that you'll take away the fact that these aren't just technologies that are there for fad or a gimmick. They actually are solving for real problems that you have. I want you to take that away and then therefore start putting AR and VR on your roadmap. So I thought maybe we're going to start with one of the biggest problems, which is generating awareness and traffic. Both brick and mortar retailers and e-commerce share the same challenge. Thanks, Alan. I also bought us some time.
It's
That
a
was
it's a
exactly
real-time
what I was
panel.
doing as I was explaining the panel to everybody. So brick and mortar and e-commerce, it doesn't matter. They both suffer from the challenge of generating awareness, driving traffic. How are augmented reality and virtual reality solutions solving for these today?
So some of the examples that we've worked with are some of the leading VR providers such as 2-Bit Circus, Nomadic, Spaces, Periscape, and what they've done is they've worked together with malls or other locations, Dave & Buster's is another example, to figure out how to use virtual reality in an innovative way to create experiences that may drive traffic and create innovation. So an example is Dave & Buster's. So Dave & Buster's created a motion simulator platform for Jurassic World, for a game that came out last summer, and they were able to use virtual reality to create essentially what felt like a roller coaster at a much cheaper price, and without using the square footage that an actual roller coaster would have used. And so, it created a tremendous amount of excitement and tremendous amount of traffic at a cost-efficient way. So that's one example. There's other examples of Spaces and Nomadic. They're going into places like the Irvine Spectrum or Point, Orlando. Other places are going in Westfield malls. 2-Bit Circus has a footprint. They specifically created their footprint to be the size of one floor of a department store. So in many places we see some department stores are closing down and they're looking for a tenant who could take that big space. So 2-Bit Circus created their square footage to be able to do that. And so we're providing the technology that enables them to create these fun virtual reality experiences. And so, in essentially, like in the Jurassic World example I gave, the size of where we are sitting right now is what was created is the same size of what created the experience of a roller coaster. So that's some examples of how you're able to do something that's cost efficient, that is innovative. We hear a lot about how younger people prefer experiences over just buying something. So you're getting people who are feeling, getting that exciting experience. And the last thing I'll say on this is we've seen data for some of the companies like The Void and some of the other that when they do their surveys, they find that the majority of the people that come to do the virtual reality experience there had never been to that mall before. So you're driving new customers who inevitably will end up, buying food and paying for parking and perhaps, shopping in some of the other stores and enjoying their experience and coming back. So it's a really important and interesting way to reach new audiences and bringing lots of fun for family and friends.
That's amazing. Alan?
I think there's a myriad ways that brands can leverage virtual and augmented reality. For example, in retail specifically, if you look at Walmart is rolling out VR training. So just simple 360 video, giving their store clerks the ability to see what's going to come in the future as far as preparing them for Black Friday or preparing them for scenarios that don't happen every day. Verizon just announced that they're using VR for training as well. So I think training is a big part of it. But I also think the ability to take online, offline shopping and put it together. So Macy's has put VR in 60 of their locations. They're actually putting it into 30 more this year. So it'll be 90 locations. And what they've seen is a 60% increase in the basket size of people buying furniture using their VR experience. So what they do is they take the measurements of your room, they decorate it on a tablet, and then you put on the headset and you can stand in the room and look at what the furniture is going to look like in your room in VR. And one of the magic things about this is not so much as about the added basket size, but the return rate is under 2% now. So for a furniture retailer, returns represent a massive loss of revenues. And so that's an amazing thing. And some of the stuff we're working on is virtual try-ons. So being able to try on glasses or shoes or watches using just the phone that's in your hand. So as much as retail can leverage it to bring people in, we can also leverage it to keep people buying when they're not in the stores. So that's really exciting as well.
Right, and those are good examples of kind of my next problem that we were going to talk about, which is around customer satisfaction, decreasing returns, helping with decision making. Before we get to that point, though, Joanna, you talked about the use of location-based entertainment to drive traffic to physical malls. Mall of America this year also used augmented reality. They used a holographic computing technology from Ventana to generate a holographic elf for the holidays as another driver. So a lot about experience is what you said, a lot about entertainment, providing something that you would never be able to get at home with an HTC Vive even, if you are able to afford it. But Jenna, you and I had this great conversation on the phone prepping for the panel about how even before a user gets to the point where they feel comfortable trying all of this, Elle and publications play a role in the education around the technology itself. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yes. So when I started covering technology 5 years ago for women and technology that I thought would be relevant, I realized that there was really no formula on how to educate mass consumers on high technology, complicated technology. And so I've seen that the best way to do that is through having these conversations. But when you think about how you get traffic into your door, how do you get people to onboard and use this technology, you have to make it interesting. So you do it on the gimmicky side, maybe with Mall of America. You already have people in the door at that point, and then they can go try this as an experience, and that's fun. Or you have to really let storytellers find interesting ways to speak to your technology. So something that I do, and not even AR related, is let's say that a new phone comes out. I will take that phone to Fashion Week and test out the camera capability. When Samsung came out with AR and AI embedded into the camera just this last launch, I took that to Coachella and started taking photos of people that I thought had cool outfits and seeing how you could shop straight from the camera, and that's the kind of review that I did. So it's about figuring out how sometimes we get so stuck in this tech bubble and we're very much in the future. How do we get people from point A to point B and beyond? And so it's that education.
Yeah, I love that. It really hit home to me that there's a lot of grooming and education and storytelling that needs to be done even on augmented reality and virtual reality. So taking a step back, like how can you generate awareness? How can you generate traffic? Sure, you can employ LBE solutions. You can have a holographic elf in your store, but does your user even understand what that means?
Right.
Like, do they even understand what they're going to be engaging with? What is virtual reality? What is augmented reality? And the role of storytelling in your marketing material, the role of storytelling and employing media is part of that.
I think
there's some good examples from companies like Snapchat, Pokemon, Facebook, where essentially, if you've ever done a rainbow vomit selfie, you've used augmented reality. You may or may not know that's what the technology is, but so the focus has been on the fun that's providing to you, and you were just doing little selfies over there,
right?
And you're augmenting your face. Not that it needs it ever, because it's perfect.
It needs a lot of it.
But it doesn't need it.
I'm wishing for a real-time Snapchat filter this morning.
Or Pokemon Go. There are millions of people across the world. We're running around, getting exercise, meeting friends, meeting new people, and if you're in the industry, you are very clear that's an augmented reality or light augmented reality technology. But if not, you're just having a lot of fun and doing Pokemon Go. So I think there's still a lot to be learned from the tech community and about consumer marketing, consumer education, and up to now, it's mainly been focused on early adopters. And so as we continue to spread it and think about the terminology we're using, and it doesn't necessarily have to be, hey, come do a VR ride or come do a VR experience in the store, but what is that great creation you're going to have? How are you interacting with Santa and beyond?
I think
Yeah.
brands have a really good opportunity also to leverage earned media from really cool experiences. So even though you make something awesome that may be only shown to 500 or 600 people, using earned media and the ability to tell the story of how great that experience was is really giving brands an upper hand. If you look at, pull up the Google News for VR today, and I'm sure there's a few brands that are leveraging that tool right now. One of the things I saw on the floor here, down below actually, was it was a VR experience of this guy in a little tiny car, and he was in there doing whatever, but nobody could see what he was doing. So there was a lineup of people waiting to see this thing, and I thought that was really cool because most VR experiences, you can see what the person's seeing. By putting it hidden, you've actually created this sense of mystery, and I think that's a really great way of leveraging the technology. VR went from this, everybody had it, and then all of a sudden it's at all the booths, and consumers tried it, and then they didn't try it. But I think there's a real value in putting people in a space where you can explain a product in a way that you hijack 100% of the person's periphery.
Yeah, and I love that you bring up ads because before we move on to the next point, obviously ads are a great way to generate awareness and traffic. And I suspect that 2019 is going to be the year of mobile AR advertising. And I just want to point out the stat that Nielsen and Unity did in a test of AR ads with QSR restaurants, which brought brand awareness up 104%. So there's a ton of great data already out there on the effectiveness of AR ads. As our time is short, I'd like to go back to the try before you buy type of scenarios. Our second problem that we wanted to tackle was how do we help with decision making and improving customer satisfaction? Showrooming and web rooming, which I didn't know that was a word, web rooming, but that's supposedly a word. Hopefully you're using it. They become common consumer behavior today with 69% of people web rooming and 46% of people showrooming. So obviously they're trying to use tools to make better decision making so they don't need to come back and return things. Try before you buy is a really great way to do that. What are some of the things you're seeing in AR and VR that are helping with customers' decisions?
We're working with many of the big automotive companies in Europe on VR in the showroom. So, and that drives a lot of things. That drives a great customer experience, that drives potential traffic, that makes the kids happy potentially. We've heard data like that one of the leading factors in people not buying a car that day is the kids want to leave and they don't have time. They don't have time to go through the whole process.
Here, kid, race the car. Race the car while we sign the paperwork.
I don't know if it's really a leading factor, but it is a factor. And and then also the issue of inventory and how much inventory you have in stock and how much space you need for that and what the costs are. So a lot of the big European manufacturers are using our HP VR technology to have VR showrooms, so you don't have to have the car in blue and red and black and silver and with each one and giving you that experience of not just driving maybe around that neighborhood, but like putting
on the moon.
On the moon, or in the French Riviera or the Italian Riviera, and so giving you become the hero of your journey as you're in VR and having a much more fun and feeling what it's like. And in the end, hopefully being more likely to purchase that car.
I think augmented reality, the fact that by the end of this year we'll have 2 billion augmented reality smartphones with powerful AR built right into them. If you look at the scale of that, everybody's got a sales tool in their hand. So if the way we see it is, things like sunglasses, hats, headphones, necklaces, makeup, shoes, watches, clothing, you can all virtually try these on with just your phone by taking a selfie, very similar to a Snapchat filter, but being able to try on a pair of glasses, swipe through them, and be able to pick those. With the new phones coming out, so the iPhone X, for example, it has depth sensing cameras that if you tilt your head, you can create a 3D model of your face. Well, that's creating opportunities for retailers to customize things like glasses specifically for the proper measurements of somebody's head. If you look at maybe 5 or 6 years, I would have said 10 years until yesterday, and I tried these AR glasses, and they're very good, and real. They're really awesome. Up until now, I would have said 10 years away, we're going to wear glasses, but let's say it's 5 years. And if you think about what we could do with that, you wear glasses and you look at a mirror and see what you look like all dressed, but that mirror doesn't exist, and you're an avatar of yourself. So that's going to be a thing as well. So
Well, and I think one thing that I'm just going to layer on quick is that, again, it's the interaction between technology and the creatives and the products. So using the Samsung example again, we also made it possible for you to try on the beauty looks from our magazine. So if you saw Nicki Minaj on the cover of our magazine, you could put on her makeup. But when we were doing that, it was interesting because the makeup artist had a lot to say about what we got back from the tech people that were trying to create the filters and layers, because if it's not done
If it's
well,
not perfect.
and your eyelashes are on your forehead, you're really doing yourself and the brands a disservice. So it's really important to have that back and forth.
So I think our time is up. We talked a little bit about driving traffic and awareness through earned media, through traditional media with AR ad formats, with location-based entertainment, by improving customer satisfaction and decreasing returns, as well as helping with decision-making with try before you buy. These are just scratching the surface, so please come talk to us after. I know that we're going to get ushered off the stage here from Laura, but I'd like to say thank you to our panelists here. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being in the audience, everybody. Enjoy the rest of CES.